happy.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on to this very important update. The embattled former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, is not getting off the hook anytime soon in his legal battle over alleged fraud. In another legal hammer on him, Justice Dende Dipelu of the Federal High Court sitting in Ikoyi, Lagos, ordered the final forfeiture of the sum of $2.045 million, 7 landed properties, and the 2 share certificates of Queensdorf Global Fund Limited Trust linked to the former CBN governor. Justice Dipelu gave the order following a motion on notice filed and argued by a team of lawyers led by Rotimi Oyedipo, SAN for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Let's share the story by TVC News' Emefiele Adeyemo with you.
The court held that Godwin Emefiele, despite his arguments, through his lead counsel Olaleko Ojo SAN, that he had purchased the landed properties through legitimate means, didn't provide any link to the several companies who were said to be owners of the properties. The court says that the former CBN governor had instead indirectly denied ownership of those properties, having not admitted whether he was a member, shareholder or director of those firms. The court added that after examining the several documents presented by both the EFCC seeking final forfeiture and Mr. Emefiele claiming ownership of the properties, that he didn't present proof of ownership and title documents to support his claims. Neither did the said companies file any court documents in the suit on why the assets shouldn't be forfeited. The court added that since Mr. Emefiele didn't claim ownership of the $2.045 million and 2 share certificates linked to him, such unchallenged evidence presented by the EFCC's lead counsel, Rotimi Oyedipo, SAN, is credible proof for the court to ascribe probative value to it. Mr. Emefiele's counsel had argued in October that he instructed his solicitor to purchase those landed properties in his name with proceeds accrued from his lawful savings while serving in various capacities at Zenith Bank PLC and at the CBN, and that those instructions were carried out. Earlier in the day, Justice Dipelu also refused to halt further proceedings of the suit, as prayed for by the top banker, pending the determination of 2 criminal charges brought against him by the EFCC in Abuja and Lagos. The judge said the case in Abuja borders on alleged illegal award of contracts and payments bearing no link to the instant suit, while the charge in Lagos borders on the alleged negotiation for and acceptance of kickbacks by Mr. Emefiele and his cronies in exchange for forex. The court says that though the charge being heard at the Lagos State High Court bears some similarities with this case, the charge doesn't list any property seeking to be forfeited or link them as having been purchased from those alleged illegalities. Mr. Emefiele had contended that hearing all 3 cases simultaneously will be prejudicial to him, since he is presumed innocent until proven guilty. But the EFCC had argued that this case, brought under Section 17 of the Advanced Fee Fraud Act of 2016, isn't conviction-based, but targets properties reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime and will not breach his rights. Mr. Oyedipo had added that the instant proceedings are distinct from the criminal charges against Mr. Emefiele.
All right, gentlemen, Paul, let me start with you. Apparently, Emefiele did not challenge the interim forfeiture within the stipulated period.
Well, since he did not challenge it, that means he had nothing to say.
He's gone for good.
He's gone for good. I mean, I don't think he can now just wake up suddenly and say, because he was given enough time. It was actually first an interim order, and within which lasted for, I think, 14 days, right?
The stipulated period.
Yes, and he did not contest it during the period. So the SEC brought, through a motion on notice, asked that it be finally forfeited. So that is gone for good. For me, there are so many lessons to learn from Emefiele saga. See, when you are in a position of authority, of power, the CBN is if you are a CBN governor, that's a very, very big position. It's a very powerful position. You are not supposed to abuse your power. Look, Emefiele's case is a good example of how somebody can descend from fame into infamy, And look at the superintendent over Nigeria economic powerhouse, and came up with policies that were actually anti-people. That was even when a lot of people, whatever law people had for Emefiele, at the time he went on that, he did that policy of what VK would call Naira coloring. Naira the design officially. And a lot of people were very, very hungry. A lot of people were.
Would you call that self-sabotaging?
Well, he may not have thought he was sabotaging himself, but it appears to be so because he shot himself in the leg, really. And if anybody still had sympathy for Emefiele, that alone killed it. And that's why many people are not shedding tears. I've seen some people say, I've seen a few persons think that that Emefiele has been unduly persecuted, but that opinion is not popular, and it cannot be popular. And even if it were popular, it has no, even if it were, it is not really, but even if it were, it has no bearing with what is going to happen in court because it's blind to emotions. No, it's so terrible to see that once powerful person in this situation. And another thing I want to say is this. You see, it's not new. I'm not surprised that all of this were linked to him. You know, even though the court said we cannot honestly see how his income from CBN and Zenith Bank could give him this kind of life. See, it is true that a lot of people are holding in public service have properties that you wonder if they can get that in their lifetime, in 10 lifetimes, if they do not go through the corruption route. I think that it's a lesson. If people will learn, it's a lesson. We need to have more of this. You know, we need to beam our searchlight. How did a lot of people in public service come about their wealth? How did they come about their wealth? How did they come about their wealth? There's too much of free money. The system is so, there are so many loopholes. And people just think they can buy choice properties and do anything with money that is not meant for them. That is not their grandfather's money. That's not just because they are in power. So it should be a lesson to everyone. I just hope that we'll have more forfeitures like this. Forfeitures. People will not be able to defend themselves in court. We'll have more of this.
Thank you.
The greed, you know, the greed is outstanding. It's really, really astounding. The level of greed and the resources of our country are leaking through different sources. Civil servants are doing a lot of damage to us, stealing from our country. Political office holders too are doing a lot of damage, stealing from the country. So everybody is stealing from the country. How do you expect that country to survive? The variations to contracts, it's only in Nigeria that you have that level of variation to contract. Every year, you step forward to vary this contract. People award contracts that they have no plan to even execute. We are talking about what transpired in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. They were actually promoting poverty, not alleviating poverty. Because projects, you pay contractors as much as 80% in advance, and we won't see a single building standing. It takes a useless ministry for that to be happening. And they will be gallivanting around as if they are the best things in sliced bread. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. This same Emefiele also used his position to ensure that companies linked to him never went through competitive bidding for contracts. Contract for supply of vehicles and all that. No competitive bidding. Just, give it to companies linked to Emefiele. They never thought, they thought that today will be forever. Today will never be forever. One day, you will have your comeuppance. The day of reckoning will come, and you now be carrying king-size Bibles all over the place. Nobody is interested in that. Nobody by size of Bible. No.
He's like doing what he's doing.
He has now given his life to Christ.
It's good for him, but he will still be doing.
You know, a church leader said the truth is by nature redemptive. The truth will set you free. The truth is in the holy books that we don't read. But when we come up with adversity, we go and get king-size Bibles. No matter how big your Bible is, it is the heart that God is looking at.
And it cannot erase your sin.
There is a song that it is God is not interested in how you look facially. It is the content of your heart, the inner recesses of your mind. That is what God is after. So I'm happy that this is happening to a man who subjected us to untold hardship. And he had even journalist friends who are justifying what was happening. Some of them saying, we stand by Emefiele. Stand by, kill you there. You are standing by a man whose policy drove people to their death. You are not a journalist. I've always said it that a lot of the people you see on TV, they are pundits. There's a difference between pundits and journalists. People in our country, you just call everybody journalist. Are you out of your mind? You cannot call everybody a journalist. It's like saying Michael Owen is a journalist because they appear on Sky to analyze. It's like saying Jamie Carragher is a journalist because he comes on air to analyze. No, they are not journalists. Andy Cole is not a journalist. They are pundits. A lot of the people you see wearing those suits, they have no training in journalism. They don't know anything about filtration because they had never trained under an editor who will say, look, this is the way to go. Oh, this is not good enough. This is how to write it.
Yeah.
This is the better way to write it. No editor has ever thrown your script back at you. We worked in the same place. We had editors then who would throw your script back at you. If you do not have the heart of a lion, you will burst into tears.
Yes, so.
Because you think, this thing that I beautifully worked, maybe the language is correct, but the sequence in which you brought the argument, your argument was not good enough, and that person will squeeze your script and dump it inside a waste bin. That happens in a progressive newsroom. You can abuse yourself at the end of the day over 2 bottles of beer. The matter is forgotten.
Yeah. I wouldn't want you to lose that line of thought, but let's quickly take Olani from Surulere. Good afternoon to you, Olani.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Journalist Hangout. Please go ahead.
I commend you guys on what you are doing, particularly Uncle Jide Okidoju. And I want to comment on the Emefiele living issue. What I don't seem to understand is that people are very, very greedy. I don't know why Emefiele is not content. They have a bit of contentment. Because he is a manager, a CEO in Zenith Bank for many years before he became a CBN governor. What else God has not given to him? One thing that says that one fair job would a choke alone. You are now a king and you are climbing a tall tree. Do you want to become God? So what does he want? Look at the number of people that died during this money exchange and everything. Was he even has the nerve to come and say that people that want to fight him to come and fight him now? He should face the rod. God will punish him. God will teach him first.
Thank you so much, Olani. Thank you very much. Mikio, are we done with this case?
This is an ongoing matter. It's an ongoing matter. But the matter of forfeiture of things linked to him, that one is lost those things for good. They usually don't step forward. Because how do you prove that after all these years that what they requested the court to seize, you actually worked for it? Unexplained wealth is all over the place in Nigeria. We need a law, just as they have in Malaysia, where you must be able to explain the wealth that you have. And if you cannot explain, you lose your belongings to government. We must come up with that kind of law. If the National Assembly is to be seen as progressive, I know a lot of them are guilty of this, so it will be tough to get them to do it. But these are the kind of laws that we need to do so that people will know that they can't just be stealing from the rest of us. They always realize that a day of reckoning will come. Whether they have people in the media who defend them and all that. It doesn't matter. If the law, if we have strong institutions, even after you've left office as president, they can go and grab you and make you pay for the sins that you committed.
Absolutely.
We see it in other countries.
Yes,
in Israel, we saw it.
In Israel, yeah.
The former prime minister was put on trial.
Exactly.
I mean,
You know?
we hope every politician, every technocrat, every public servant learns from this.
Yeah.
All right. Let's